I'm going to record this podcast even though there's a big time lag on the video. We'll just save the video and maybe use it, maybe not. Maybe we'll make some slides for this instead. Okay. Screen. Try that again. No, it's not going to work. Okay, hold on a second there. Okay. Hello and welcome to A Wealthy Life. In this podcast, I'm going to speak to you about mindset and why that's so important and why what's going on in the environment at the moment can be affecting you, but equally can be holding you back from achieving the wealthy life you really want to achieve. So what do I mean by mindset? So the first thing for me here is that it is the state of your thinking. It's very much driven by your emotions. There are also your underlying beliefs that will shape that, but it's the thoughts that you have in your head. Now, these thoughts could be negative, these thoughts could be positive, these thoughts could be taking you forward to the goals and the dreams and the life that you want to live, or they could be holding you back, and there is a term for this, they are limiting beliefs. And I feel that as a country, we really struggle with our limiting beliefs. We love a limiting belief. So if there is the potential of a thought that might tell us that doom is around the corner, that something isn't going to work, that something is going to go wrong, we collectively, and I will explain how this happens, seem to latch on to that idea. And what I want to talk to you about in this podcast is how you can be more conscious of this. Because quite frankly, I think all of these podcasts have been about helping you become more conscious of factors around the 5 principles of a wealthy life that could be preventing you from achieving the life that you want to live as quickly as you want to live it. And so mindset, obviously, as you know, comes really under clarity, the very first principle. You can't be clear about what you want unless you've really sorted your mindset out. So let's start by thinking about this in a deeper way now. Is the mood of the country something that affects you? So at this particular point in time, we are just reeling from the death of our monarch, the Queen. We're in that post-mourning period. But let's just cast our minds back. So a few years ago, we were angry because of Brexit. There was a lot of anger in the air. And then we had COVID. So there was a lot of fear in the air. And we got over COVID and we were just sort of coming out into normality. And all of a sudden it's about recession and heating prices and how, prices are going to soar over the winter period and we're all going to really struggle for money. So again, more fear. And now, before we've really got into that, we're in a period of sadness. Now, all of these emotions are perfectly natural emotions, but they are all, if you think of them, up the more negative end of the spectrum. Where is us feeling collectively happy? Where is us feeling collectively positive? And you can actually see differences between countries. And I remember when I was studying something called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, I came across a woman, can't remember her first name, feel like it could have been Veronica Graves. And she spoke about the value system and how these values apply to us individually, but also as a country. So the personality of America is very different from the personality of Sweden, of Italy, of, say, South Africa, or of the UK. And you can see countries that have very individual, that's a harder word, individualistic beliefs, that they believe in the individual. And then there are countries that very much believe in the collective and the community, and they work together. And within that, there are the more positive and the more negative beliefs that can be held. Taking that back down to a personal level, we can experience that ourselves. We can be someone who is very much about what we want and what we're going to achieve and everything else, and that can be positive or negative. And then we also have tendencies to have more positive beliefs or more negative beliefs. And so, for example, you might hear someone when they're speaking say, oh, well, that's never going to work, or that can't happen, or, well, I'm never going to make that, or, of course, that's going to fail. And you'll listen to their words. And in the sense of NLP, what that's telling you is that if they hold that as a belief, and therefore they're already setting out to fail or not achieve before they even attempt whatever it is they're going to attempt, then actually what happens is that the mind and the body work together in order to fulfill that wish. And so this is where I want to take you into the deeper learning that I got while studying NLP. And this was to really understand how the mind works. So it is brilliant. It is both primal and exceptional. And the primal part, which can sometimes be known as the subconscious or the unconscious part of your mind, is the bit that is controlling your body. It's how you're here listening to this podcast. It's how I'm here, standing, speaking, blinking, my heartbeats still going. I'm still blinking my eyes while thinking and speaking to you at the same time, because a portion of my brain is doing everything that is necessary to keep me alive. So it is automatically breathing for me, making my lungs expand. It is automatically pumping the blood around me, my body. It is automatically tensing my legs so that I can stand up. And it is automatically blinking my eyes so they don't dry out in the air. Now, if we had to think about, all right, take a breath. Oh, heart beat, please. Legs tense again. I'm about to fall over. We'd never get anything else done. So the mind very cleverly, or the brain very cleverly, has portioned off part of the brain to deal with those functions. But as part of that general function, keeping us alive, what it is also doing, and this is where it becomes very clever in a modern world, and something that we can train to support us in a modern world, is on a very primal level, it is still looking out for the saber-toothed tiger or the wolf that could attack us. So there is this constant vigilance that is going on, both in your vision, in your hearing, in your senses. All of your senses, smell, touch, everything is on alert to make sure that you're not attacked. It is also working internally, paying attention that your oxygen level hasn't dropped so that you breathe a bit more and you don't pass out. Now, that is extremely clever, but we don't have a lot of saber-toothed tigers around anymore. We're not likely to be attacked by an animal. And how that translates into a modern world is if you were out walking and say you're walking along a road, then it would be awareness of the cars and not just stepping off of a pavement into a road and getting run over. So there are modern ways that the brain is still keeping us alive by paying attention. It might notice a loose paving slab so that you don't trip over. So that sort of stuff is going on at an unconscious level. And sometimes what it'll do is it will just automatically step you over the twig, the root, the pavement that's loose. And other times it will alert you to it and you will become ever so slightly conscious of it and conscious that you're stepping over it. So it doesn't always come into our consciousness. Sometimes it's all being taken care of at a ground level. Now, neuro-linguistic programming, which is neuro, which is to do with the brain, linguistic to do with the language, and programming, as it says, believes that we can train this part of our brain to support us even further. Because what can filter in here is beliefs, and this is where the idea of limiting beliefs come from, limiting beliefs that can actually hold you back from functioning. So some people will fear going outside and suffer with agoraphobia because they fear that things outside are bad for them. So that is a belief, and that belief has triggered something in their unconscious to make them so fearful, so alert that they cannot function outside of their safe space. Equally, you can have people that have the reverse of that, and they might be claustrophobic. So those are two examples. But if we take it down a level, if you were to maybe believe that you weren't clever, or worse, that you're stupid, or that you're clumsy, or that you'll never be a success, how many people at primary school and secondary school, or say secondary school, when you spoke to the careers officer and the careers officer turned around and told you, you couldn't be one of those, you'll only ever be this? And there are stories like that where goodness knows what was going through that careers officer's mind. Maybe they'd, seen the results of some tests, but that can set off a limited belief. I'll never be successful. I'll never be able to run my own business. I'd never be able to afford enough money for a holiday, for another property. Nobody will ever love me. All of those can be little sentences that have been fed in to your unconscious so that you are often unaware of them until you do some form of counseling or neuro-linguistic style work. And they're fed in, if you like, to this low-level body maintenance functioning part of your brain. So then your brain, if it believes that no one will ever love you, will never look at people as potential partners for you. If you believe that you will never be successful and run a business or invest in property or have money or do any of that stuff, the unconscious part of your brain will never notice the opportunities that are all around you. Now, you can get over this. But the point that I want to make here is, so that was your science bit. The point that I want to make here is that we are fed these limiting beliefs, these unhelpful negative emotions through media, through social media. And this isn't a let's all bash Facebook moment. This is actually the reality of, if you look at the headlines over the years of our media, whether it's paper-based, online, or whatever, news, etc., a lot of it is very negative, very fearful. And that is because somehow, have we always been like this? I don't know. Somehow we've shifted to the point where the people who run media, and obviously that is an enormous business, it is an enormous influential force in our country, and it is worth a lot of money, either believe or want us to only buy, engage, enjoy negative media, negative stories. You'll often hear the phrase, only bad news sells. People don't want to read about people being happy. Well, that's a belief that is held in the UK. That might not be a belief that is held in other countries. If you've ever traveled, for example, towards the Far East, where we've been to Indonesia, the Maldives, all countries like that, even South Africa, where people struggle a lot more financially, everybody is smiling, everybody is laughing, everybody is dancing. They are enjoying life because they don't hold a belief, and maybe they don't pay that much attention to media, that says they can only be happy if they're miserable. And that is sort of a sentence that you could have about the UK. We're never happier than when we're miserable. And now we sort of added in fear and anger and everything else more recently. So if that is what you are being fed through the media atmosphere, the thought, let's call it that, the thought atmosphere that is around you. And as I say, this can come from media, but this can also, even if you don't watch the media, be relayed through family and friends and work colleagues telling you the stuff. So even if you don't read it firsthand, you're getting it secondhand. If you're not conscious that this can be being fed into your automatic programming, and therefore be changing the filters on what you want to observe in the world, then this can be very dangerous. There is so much information out there from, as we've already talked about, the environmental of, I need to eat, I'm hungry, I need to breathe, I need to pump my heartbeat, but also I've got to pay attention to the road, I've got to pay attention to the children, I've got to pay attention to work, my phone is demanding. There's so much going on in our lives, and so much of that needs to be automated in order that we can simply function. If you do not control the programming at that unconscious, subconscious level, then when you have taken care of business and you are now looking in the world in a conscious way, if you've got a filter in there that says, don't bother noticing this because you'll never be successful, don't bother noticing this because no one will ever love you, don't bother noticing this because you're always destined to be fat or ugly, or any other belief that could be in there, or we need to be miserable, so let's not notice any joy. We need to be afraid, let's not notice any solutions. We need to be angry, let's not look at any positives or any solutions. That if you're not conscious of this, external forces could be shaping your future without you knowing about it. Now, that's very much the bad news part. We're going to keep going through another 2 levels, and then we will get to the good news part. Honestly, I think there is good news in there. There's good news in, if you're aware of this, you can control it. And the simple ways you control it are you consume less of the negative stuff. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't look at Facebook, or you can't watch the news, or you can't have a television. There are some people out there that absolutely cut themselves off completely. Now, I feel that that is almost like an alcoholic never having a drink because they cannot control themselves. So they're never having a TV because they couldn't control what they watch. They're never going on to any social media because they couldn't control the posts that they consumed. Okay, you are better than that. You are more able than that. You are more advanced than that. You don't need to go to the extreme and cut yourself off from everything, because by doing that, you could be missing some of the opportunities. You could miss the opportunity to meet the love of your life. You could miss the opportunity to identify the business deal of your life, the business opportunity of your life, that moment to be the successful person that you know you are. So there's a real con to removing yourself completely, and therefore control and awareness is something that can enable you to just question the thoughts that you're having in your head, and moderate at times when you're not enjoying the news that's going on. When the news is repetitive, it does bang on. Sometimes it gets a story in its grip and it doesn't let it go. You'll see the flavor of the story. If that's not a story that you're happy with, well, then don't watch it so much for that week, and then check in next week and see if the story's changed. That's the advantage, is that a lot of this stuff is very short-lived. Now, the reason for that is the second level of thinking, and I mentioned it briefly. It's the more conscious thinking. So it's the you that's actually listening to this podcast. It's the you that said, oh, Vicky's new podcast is out, it must be Thursday, I'll go and listen to it. Or you noticed the notification on your phone or your device, and so you went and listened to this. So you're consciously engaged in things. This is almost like the daily mind for me. So this daily mind is the one that is aware, that is looking around, that has got, okay, I'm up. Do I have food in the fridge for dinner later? I'm going to make this. not food in the way of I'm fearful I'm going to starve, but part of the daily planning that we do. It's a Monday or it's a Wednesday, I need to go to work, or I'm working from home, I don't need to go into the office. It's that daily planning, it's that daily functioning. But what it also is the mind that needs entertainment. It's a very active part of your mind. It's the bit that's awake. All the rest of it's being dealt with unconsciously. So this is the bit that needs to be filled in order to keep it busy, in order to keep it working, in order to keep all those little neurons and synapses firing. Now, if you do not, and let me use this word specifically, entertain your daily mind, your daily mind will find entertainment for itself. And this is where it will then head into Facebook and social media or something on the television. And that's where unconsciously the thoughts get that door open so that they can then slip in and embed themselves further down in the subconscious mind and run automatic programs. And it's the daily mind that likes the drama. If you are living in the daily mind, and I haven't told you the other level yet, but I will, if you're living in the daily mind, then the chances are you like watching your soaps on the telly, you watch or read about media news, you, inverted commas, care about what the celebrity's up to. You can maybe name celebrities, or you can tell me things about celebrities' lives, or you're into football or sports. So you've got something in your life that is your entertainment value. Now, there can be positive versions of this. So it might be that you are older and you have grandchildren, and your grandchildren are the joy in your life and they are your daily entertainment. But it equally can be a touch time wasting. And this is, again, it's always a continuum. You don't have to have no TV. You just need to be aware of when the TV is influencing unconsciously your life in a way that you don't want it. You don't have to consciously be having highbrow thoughts and reading, books by philosophers. You can live a quite happy and normal daily life, you'll be pleased to know. You can have fun with your grandchildren, you can enjoy your sports, you can enjoy your movies, you can enjoy chatting with the neighbors. But when this becomes something that is dominant, then what it's doing is it's consuming you. And the very clever bits here are things like your series. So in the old days, just a few years ago, we used to have to wait once a week for our next episode of the drama that we were following to come out. And then, of course, you got programs like EastEnders and Hollyoaks, and I can't remember the Australian ones. Back in the day, way back, there was things like Crossroads, and they appeared every night. And so what happened, because we didn't have recording devices and any other way to catch up on them, is the whole country that wanted to watch EastEnders had to sit down at 7 o'clock and watch EastEnders. And they would trail what was happening tomorrow. They would always leave you on a cliffhanger, and they were controlling the nation through TV programming to make us all sit down. And then, of course, clever people invented video recorders originally, and now we've gone on to your satellite boxes and everything, so you can record in your box. And now we've got a step further where you can do this thing called binge watching, where everything is released and then you can watch an entire series over 2 nights. So it started to change the way that we are controlled by TV. We are still controlled, some of us, by the TV, in that you want to watch the next episode. So you might watch 3 episodes tonight, and then you will definitely come back to watch 3 episodes again. If that's the way you like to relax in the evening, there is no judgment here. I have a TV. I love my TV programs, and I'm going to explain how I control and wind things down, because how I want to program my mind, and I will cover that off at the end with you. Are you conscious of this? That's the key thing here. Is it that, whether it's a TV series or is it a game on your phone? I downloaded a couple of weeks ago when we were taking a break, a game on my phone. Never played one of these before. It's a township thing. So you create a town Bob's played them before with a farm. And every day I need to go back because I've got to collect something, I've got to feed animals, I've got to do this, I've got supplies. And actually what was going through my head has been really quite an interesting observational experience of the game has me working. I have to fill orders for people. I have to produce stuff in factories. I have to do all of this stuff. And I'm thinking, hold on, why am I playing a game that is completely opposite to the way that I want to live my life? And in playing the game, I am being stopped. Not only I'm playing a game about a lifestyle that I don't even want to live, but in playing the game that is a lifestyle that I don't want to live, I'm not actually living the lifestyle that I want to live. And that conscious awareness came to me, which is what I thought would make such a key podcast for you, is again, this awareness. Are you aware of this? Yes, pop it onto your phone and playing your one wordle each day, which is a mind game, exercising your mind. There's a lot of games that are very important to keep our minds active, but equally daily life could be keeping our minds active as much as all the games on our devices. So where the subconscious or unconscious mind is running everything for us and is really a programming system, and we have to be careful about the programs that we put into that computer, if you want, because if we put the wrong programs in, it will not really be helping us create the life that we want. So real consciousness there, and then moving up a level, if you like, and into our daily lives to the conscious mind. It needs entertainment. How can you entertain your mind in a way that drives you forward? So instead of watching your TV programs or playing the games or getting involved in idle chatter about people that really aren't that important to your life, your success, the wealthy life that you want to create, you could be, and obviously through this, you are listening to a podcast. So the podcast could be that dose of entertainment that you want. And you can listen to educational podcasts and you can listen to your funny podcast, but that's your dose of occupying your mind. It could be that you're a book reader, so you read a book, maybe you like to watch a video, but look at what you are consuming, as much as in that first level being very aware of what is being forced on you through media news. Now make a conscious effort to pick media and data and knowledge that is going to support you in whatever your goals are. So if you're struggling with your finances, read about finances, learn more about finances. If you're still struggling with the mindset, go dig deeper into this and learn more about how mindset works. If you really want to understand about how you can leverage your assets, get into that. If you want to learn about property, then obviously there's all my books, there's plenty of stuff out there that you can read. So be aware that your daily mind needs entertaining, and you've got to look at how you entertain it. And then we move to the third level, and the third level is really a higher level of thinking. And this is the stage that we want to get to. This is where we're in the creative mind. And the creative mind is the one that spots opportunities, evaluates the opportunities, works out what opportunity or what fact, what data is the right information for you to consume, hold on to, file, use, given what your objectives are. And this is where we want to get to. And if you haven't dealt with the other levels, it's very difficult to get into this way of thinking if you are still down at the subconscious level, worrying about money, feeling negative, like you haven't got enough food, you haven't got enough heat, you haven't got enough clothes, all of that basic level of functional thinking. If that's still bothering you, how can you then elevate yourself into a creative position? If you are in that daily being entertained, watching too much nonsense, if you like, engaged in too much nonsense, and not filling some of your time, not all of your time, we still need some fun, but filling some of your time with data and new knowledge that is going to support the life that you want, then when you get to the point where you can think creatively, you might spot an opportunity, but you won't have the knowledge to do anything with it. And so one of the ways that, maybe I'm a bit freaky, it's worked for me. I learned this stuff in 2008. We're currently in 22. So I'm talking about the last 14 years. I have lived my life this way. I am conscious of my baseline programming. When something isn't working for me, I go back and I think, what limiting belief or what piece of programming is running that is stopping me from achieving what I want to achieve? And I can go back and I can address that. I'm very aware of my daily mind. I feel I'm quite controlled and quite focused at times when I switch it on, and at other times I'm a nightmare and I'm completely unfocused. And if I'm completely unfocused, I would then ask myself the question, why? You said that, let's say I wanted to buy another house, or I want to start a business, or I want to lose weight. And whatever I said that I wanted to do, and this is where setting goals and I suppose that headline bit of programming is setting the destination that you want to be at the end of your path, that if I'm not achieving what I want, then I go back, I'll check for those bits down the bottom of the limiting beliefs, and I think, oh, well, there's no limiting beliefs there, I think I'm fine. And then I'll come up and I'll look at my daily life. Well, why are you cooking the wrong food? Or why aren't you cooking fresh food? Or why haven't you looked at some houses? Why aren't you evaluating options? Why haven't you rung customers to get sales? Why aren't you doing that stuff? And then frequently you'll find the trigger. So you might go down and look for the trigger, and it's well hidden. It doesn't want to make itself known. And it's almost hiding from you because it thinks, your mind thinks that you wanted this. So it's not going to be very obvious and go, oh, yes, look, here's something you mentioned that you wanted. You didn't really want that then? It doesn't do that because it thinks that everything that you believe, your beliefs, are what you want to happen. So it won't volunteer this easily. But there are signs, it leaves footprints. You can follow the footprints back and you can work out what's going wrong. And if you're not feeling positive, if you're not feeling creative, and I use that word loosely because I struggle with the word creative in that I'm not someone who can paint pictures. I don't know if you are. I'm not musical. I can't play an instrument. I so admire people who can do that side of stuff. And so I do have a little bit of a limiting belief about whether I'm creative or not. But actually, I'm making a podcast. This is creative. I've grown vegetables in my garden. That's creative. I've written books. That's creative. So creative, much like the word wealth, like the word success, will have meanings for you. But if you're not in a positive mindset, and I think there can be no doubt as to what a positive mindset is as opposed to a negative mindset, but if you're not in a positive frame of mind, if you're not looking for opportunities, if you're not someone finding solutions, if you're not feeling creative, if you're not in that space, the reason you're not there is because your programming is out of kilter with what you want to achieve, or you're stuck in the daily mind. Now, when it works for me, and I say I've been doing this for 14 years, I am on it. And I was having a conversation with Ian, our gym instructor, the other day, and he said, how's it going? I said, oh, the last couple of days I've sat a lot in the office and I haven't been doing that recently, and I felt really stiff. And he said the very obvious question, how long do you sit for? And I say, well, when I'm in the zone, I might sit for 3 hours until I get thirsty or I need to go and use the bathroom. And he went, But you have an Apple Watch on, there are other devices available, obviously, and it's actually got a function that tells you to get up every hour. The point here is that when I'm in the zone, I could easily sit for 3 hours. So when I wrote books, I would sit down and literally write the book in a week. I would just sit all day writing, or we say writing, I mean typing. And while there's a connotation of that's not good for your health and it's not good for your mobility and everything else, it's evidence that I was in the zone. I was in that creative, higher level thinking, and it was working for me. So what I need to do, and then this is an exercise that you can then add to this that I've already spoken about, is how do you wind down at the other end? Oh, great, Vicky, well done. So I've sorted all my programming out. My daily mind is calm and I'm filling it with the things that are useful. I'm spotting opportunities and identifying solutions. And I can't sleep now because I'm so full of ideas. Exactly. So you have to wind back. And this for me is where the TV will come into play. So I will finish work. I will watch something on the television, whether it's something factual like we love Australian MasterChef, must plug Australian MasterChef. It will make you so embarrassed to be British if you're British. And quite frankly, maybe the Americans are close, but no one beats the Australians for their culinary expertise on this program. It's insane. So we will watch that, or we might watch a film, or we might binge watch a series. And the reason for that is because I want to get out of thinking solutions, creativity, and everything else. I want to get back into my daily mind. I want to get back down a level where it's a bit calmer. Yes, it's still exciting. I would say creativity and positivity is the driving force of your higher level thinking, and fun, mischief, drama maybe is very definitely the prevailing feeling of the daily mind. I need to get into that. But then, of course, if you've watched a particularly good film or a particularly good series, you could be quite excited still about that. That's not a good place to be in, ready for sleep. And so then what you need to step into is that point where you maybe go into meditation, you may do yoga or qigong, or some people at that point might go for a walk. What is the thing that you then add on? So how do you step yourself down to a calmer mind so that you can go to sleep? And for me, because I have these beliefs, I like to program my mind into sleep. So I look at the clock, I know what time it is, I know what time I want to wake up. I tell myself I'm going to sleep for 7 hours, 7.5 hours, 8 hours, whatever the number is. I tell myself that I'm going to sleep deeply and peacefully, and that if anything comes up, I will remember it in the morning, it's fine. And I just recite in my own head, because obviously people around you will think you're weird, but I recite in my own mind a little piece of programming to tell that subconscious part of me that now is the time to calm down and go to sleep. So let me recap for you. Mindset is absolutely crucial to your success. You can be influenced by your external environment in a way that is not supportive of your goals. A wealthy life is a life that is stress-free and positive. And the mood of our country, particularly in the UK, and maybe some of this has touched global, although obviously Brexit was very particular to England in Europe. Maybe it wandered out slightly to other people, but equally, COVID was then a global issue, a global fear. How can all of that be helpful to you creating the life that you want to live when someone is telling you to be scared, someone is telling you to be angry, someone is telling you to be fearful? And so understanding that in a very simplistic way, we can think of our mind as having 3 levels of thought. The subconscious, which serves a very great purpose by keeping us alive and keeping aware of what's going on around us. And when that's working, that's brilliant. But what can happen is that little pieces of code, which is little limiting beliefs, can slip in without us knowing about it and be steering us off course. And one of the ways that you can be very aware of that happening is being very aware of, for example, what's going on with the media, but equally this could be sentences from your childhood. It could even be sentences from your family. You might have certain family members that have a set sentence which isn't positive and supportive of the things that you want to do. The second level is the daily mind. This is the one that likes to be entertained. It's almost like a young child looking for something to do, which is wonderful and positive as long as what you're doing is occupying it with things that support what you want to achieve in life. If you allow yourself to be distracted into the dramas, whether it's literally the dramas that are on the telly or the dramas that are on your phone or in your games, or the dramas that are happening in the workplace, or dramas that are happening with celebrity or sports or any of that sort of stuff, that dragging you away into that world isn't then giving you the time and the opportunity to identify the knowledge and the data that will support you to move into the higher level of thinking, where you are positive, creative, finding opportunities, finding solutions, and working on and achieving the wealthy life that you want to have. So I hope that this has really awakened you, if you like, made you more conscious of your thoughts and the fact that your thoughts are something that you can control. I rather annoyingly will maybe say to people when they have a negative thought, well, that's your belief, or that's your thought. You can change it. And I did explain how you can go back down and look at where is the programming going wrong and how can you change your thoughts. And equally, if you get yourself, or when you get yourself into this creative space, how you can calm it all back down so you can still go to sleep. Also, how you can switch it off. I have a friend who switches it off so that they can just be with their friends. They have some friends they really enjoy the company of. And so it switches off all this higher level creative thinking, goes into the daily mind, the drama and the enjoyment and the entertainment, if you like, of the daily mind, and enjoys that time with their family. And then when they want to work, they move back up into the higher level thinking. And more practice with this, the better you will become. You will be able to move up and down the ways of thinking, the ways of being, in a very natural way, because actually what you will have done is reprogrammed your unconscious mind to know that this is something you like doing, something that you want to do, and therefore something that your unconscious mind needs to help you achieve. Very, very clever stuff, this neuro-linguistic programming. There's so much more to it than that, but I just wanted to keep it brief and give you an overview. So I hope, as always, that you have enjoyed this podcast. I hope that you will have found it illuminating, and that I have, as usual, planted some seeds so that you can go ahead and start to manage your thoughts, manage your mindset, create the mindset that you want to have for a wealthy life. And above all, I hope that I have put a little bit more whoosh into your life. Thank you very much for listening. And next week, we're going to be talking about some wealthy life case studies so that you can see some examples of people that I have worked with and people that I know, and how their wealthy lives are manifested through the 5 principles of a wealthy life. Thank you very much for listening.